Now, this is what we call the tease. I know you expect me to go, that's what you'd expect, because we're childish and that's what we would do.
And we think it's funny.
We do. That's the worst part. So let me just get this tease out of the way. Neener, neener, boo, boo.
Thank you.
Yep. You got
to do the rest of the
real thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for liking and subscribing and following. This is True Really News. If you could convince, 2 more people to do that, like, subscribe, and follow, we would be forever grateful. Because then they'll do 2, and they'll do 2, and now we're doing an old commercial from the 70s.
Yes.
What's wrong with us anyway? I believe it's a disease that affected our brains as a child. Maybe we were dropped on our heads. Who knows? I can't stop. This is not good.
This is True Really News with Scott Combs and Tony Vercanis. All the news you're about to hear is true.
Really?
As far as you know.
21-year-old Nasheen Priolio was standing on a street corner in Brooklyn, New York, when an acquaintance got out of his car and hugged him.
Uh-oh.
You know how it is.
I've seen that in mob movies. That's not good.
Yeah. But, if you haven't seen someone in a long time, you spot them on the street, you give them a big hug. I mean, happens all the time. Apparently, Nasheen wasn't as happy to see his acquaintance as his acquaintance was to see him. So Nasheen and a friend attacked the man, chased him, and slashed his neck with a box cutter before running off.
Wow, I'm sorry, but even in New York, that's not acceptable behavior.
The victim
is it?
Well, depends on where you are in New York.
You're in Brooklyn.
Yeah, well,
maybe.
The victim was okay in the end, and Nasheen was arrested the next day in a hospital bed where he was recovering from an unrelated incident during which he got shot. I wonder who he hugged.
Maybe he should just stop that.
Yeah. Let's create a personal space that's much larger.
Yeah, at least by 3 feet. Please, social distancing. If you're going to hug someone, make sure it's from 6 feet out. Carry on, my wayward son. Okay, so all of a sudden I'm thinking of 3 Days of the Condor. This has nothing to do with my story.
Okay.
But the hug, right?
Oh, yeah.
The hired hitman, Max von Sydow.
Yep.
Tells Robert Redford, here's how it'll happen. It'll be a nice day, probably in the spring. Sun will be shining. Someone you know, someone you probably even trust, will get out of a car. He'll leave the car door open and will approach you smiling, as a friend would, and invite you to get into the car. Let me give you a piece of advice. Don't get in the car. Can I drop you somewhere?
You're right. That's a great line.
Like to go home to New York. If it's not out of the way, it would be my pleasure. That movie had moments.
Yes.
Wow.
Yep.
Where was I? So did The Safe House. If you have Netflix, check out The Safe House. There's a line like that in there too.
Oh, okay.
At midnight on September the 9th, I was sleeping while the folks in North Korea were holding a military parade in Pyongyang.
In the middle of the night?
Well, that would be midnight.
Okay.
They were celebrating the country's 73rd anniversary, according to the CNN report. Kim Jong-un, is he the latest?
Yeah.
For a while there, they always had, one, and then one, and all of a sudden it's just all over.
Yeah.
Anyway, Kim Jong-un appeared on a platform and waved, but did not speak. Perhaps it was the late hour. It was thought to be more dramatic than a daytime spectacle.
Maybe he's shy.
Especially for the dropping of paratroopers from military planes and the firing of flares. Well, the flares would be a little off in the day, but other than that, I don't see anything you couldn't have done like at noon.
Right.
Observers always worried about, how dictators look, said that Kim appeared to have lost a significant amount of weight and thought it was weird that he didn't speak.
I can hear this conspiracy theories piling up.
Can't
now.
you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
By the way, I find that midnight was the weird part. They find the part he'd lost weight was the weird part and didn't talk, which, okay, I'll give you that. Most dictators like to hear their own voices.
Yeah.
Mostly, though, I have to tell you, I don't care. I'm pretty sure all those nasty, bad missiles they have couldn't hit a target across the street.
They're not good at it, by the way. Okay, now I have to give you a warning, a content warning here this time. This is like that story we did of the guy who was taking his drive around UK on his moped and visiting all the places with nasty names.
Yeah.
Yeah. Grocery goofs. So warning, I'm going to give you a second in case your kids shouldn't be hearing some of this. What are you doing?
I probably should be hearing some of this.
Oh, shut up and sit down.
Yes, Mom.
You're going to like some of these because you're sick.
I'm not sick. I am disturbed.
Okay. You ready?
Slightly off in the head.
Homemade blackberry jam. Tastes like grandma.
Soylent Green.
His grandma. Roadkill summer sausage.
There is no possible freaking way that would. Growing up, I had to think about things like blood sausage,
Oh, yeah.
head cheese.
Oh, baby.
Yeah, no, there's no way roadkill is making it onto my plate. Sorry.
So for a bag of peanuts in the shell, the label read roasted monkey nuts.
That I might buy, sadly.
Sign on a freezer door.
I'd feed them to monkeys and talk about their cannibalistic tendencies.
Store tips. Stay warm in the freezer aisle by rubbing up against other shoppers.
Let me just tell you, I've heard, I don't know this from personal experience, that can get you arrested.
Original breast munchies.
Nope. Mm-mm.
These are nuggets
Nope.
made out of chicken breasts.
Just keep going.
Second to last, hungry?
Oh, geez.
Try a tasty Uranus bar.
Not in this or anybody else's lifetime.
And
Let me guess, were they chocolate?
Oh, yeah.
Of course. Could be vanilla made out of petroleum, but no.
And this last one is really the one that caused the problem.
This is
Country style
Hang
shitto.
on.
What?
oh, too late.
Country style shitto. Hotly spiced pepper sauce. I really think it's named for the final product.
Burns going in. Yeah, Burns going out. Oddity Central, you are just an evil being.
It's fantastic stuff.
You knew I couldn't. Oh, I should have walked out when I had the chance. On September 3rd, Oddity Central, so you know it must be weird. Li Zhangying of Henan, China, is known in her community for having gone more than 40 years. 40 years.
Count them.
Without any sleep. None, zero, zilch, nada.
Oh.
So suddenly my lack of sleep for a few hours a night doesn't quite seem as bad, does it?
Right. Feel like, wow, I've got some privilege here.
Her husband and neighbors, I have sleep privilege.
Exactly.
Don't get me started. We'll get canceled by someone.
I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. This could be the most fun I've ever had.
Her husband, now I worry for you. Her husband and neighbors confirmed her claim, saying that she stayed up all night to do chores and didn't ever nap. But recently, Lee visited a Beijing medical center where doctors used sensors to monitor her and discovered that, in fact, she does sleep. While her eyes are open, and while she's talking to her husband, I think my wife might be. Doctors called it sleep when awake, which is similar to sleepwalking. They said Lee sometimes had slow eyeballs and hollow eyes. Which indicated that she was resting. If I were the husband, I might be just a touch offended there. Wondering, no
but if he's concerned about her condition, he can also just schedule times where he talks to her for half an hour or two.
And she'll be sleeping.
Yeah.
Which now makes my mind race with things you could converse about. And right away, I start thinking some of those conversations I can't imagine having with my wife. It'd be a good time to do it while she's asleep.
Typical you.
Because that way I wouldn't get hurt by anything flying.
Exactly.
Thank you.
This is true, really news. Send email to TiTR@netradio.network.